What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are finally doing an interview at Arlene's Grocery in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and today we are here with Eric of Shallow Side. Thank you for your time, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, you guys just played an awesome showcase, super tight. Your latest record is Saints as Sinners. You just want to give a rundown on how the making of the record was and everything been with it this far?
It's kind of like the live show, you know. It's hot and sweaty. That's why I look the way I look right now. There we go. So the album was great. We recorded it in Orlando, Florida, with Elvis Basquiat, legendary producer and extremely talented musician all around. The guy's incredible. Learned a lot. Sat down, brought some songs, wrote some songs, and developed our first full-length album. So this is going to be our debut album. This will be the first one. We've been a band now for about 8 years, and we grew up in the the world of taking music and not paying for it, which would typically make anyone else feel bad about it. We had no clue what we were doing. You know what I mean? Like Napster and stuff. We were just taking the music. So
LimeWire, right?
LimeWire, yeah. I mean, it was pouring in music in the same place. You didn't have to leave. Like, it was all encompassed in one place. So when we started developing music, we were playing, writing 2 or 3 songs, and we'd record them and put them out. And SoundCloud started. So like that, that's how it was. It was just immediate, everything. So we took our time on this go around and created a full-length album. Sat down with Elvis Basquiat and really dove into who we wanted to be and who we wanted to sound like. And it really came out exactly the way that we were shooting, and it feels timeless. It's rhythm, rhyme, harmony, rock and roll, timeless music.
Yeah. What I've noticed from watching your set, and I think the album obviously speaks for itself as well, is that your set was very consistent. It's constantly heavy and just has this great groove and great vibe to it. Was this like a preconceived idea? Let's do something very consistent. Let's do or was there ever maybe some experimentation in the songwriting process?
We definitely keep our finger on the pulse. Like and that's the way we like it. We like it to move quickly, to feel, to when you jump up and down, that's the tempo. When the way your heart beats and the way that you interpret the music, we like it to be able to feel it, and it starts to make sense in the album when you're listening to it as the album continues to progress. There's some parts of the album that does also we push a little bit harder on that pulse to slow it down, and it opens up a whole different world, something that you're not typically used to, at least from Shallow Side. But we announced some couple of ballads into the album, and we took it from what we feel like is a rock and roll roller coaster.
Yeah. Is there a different emotion is the songwriting process different if you're writing a slower song versus a faster song, or is there kind of a usual go-to mode you have for just writing music in general?
Our first release off of the album was Sound the Alarm, which is out now, been out for a little bit now, since March. And I wrote that song about a near-death experience that I personally had when I was in Jacksonville, Florida. I was having just a regular day, ended up tripping and falling through shenanigans and debauchery, and woke up in a Trauma 1 unit with bleeding on my brain, and it was a severe brain contusion. And then I had my whole, what is it called? The orbital. I had a massive orbital fracture that ruptured back into my skull and stuff. I was pretty ruined. And
are you okay now?
Yeah, I'm good. Well, I mean, I'm a little dumber now, but I wasn't smart to begin with, so I'm good. At one point I woke up and the doctor was like, "I'm not sure how things are going to turn out, but we're going to do all we can," which is the most terrifying thing. So you would think at that point you'd write a song about near-death experience and touching the graces of the powers to that be, and it would be slow and it would be flowy, but I'd crank that guitar up and we blasted through that one. And then there's another part on the album where I talk about the family that I don't get to be a part of all the time because we're out touring and being out there and letting them know that and the title of that track is called Not Alone. So it's really the yin yang. The emotion doesn't stop. There's definitely a conviction that I believe is missed in a lot of music, whether it be rock and roll, pop, hip hop, country, doesn't matter what style of music you play. I feel like recently we've kind of disengaged the conviction of the reality of life. And that's something that I never want to lose. Whether it's a heavy song or a slow song, there's going to be full of lyrics, powerful emotion that I drive into it because that's what drives me. And those are the songs that when I was a kid, I picked them up and I was like, yo, this one's talking to me. I can feel it. You know what I mean? Like those make a difference to me. And that's really what I'm trying to do as well.
Absolutely. You kind of led me into my next question because as a vocalist, do you need to hear music to come up with the lyrics, or do these concepts like, from Sound the Alarm, like could this concept or subject matter maybe help determine the outcome of the music?
I think that the content and subject matter is definitely a life experience. It can be invoked by music, at least from me, and I believe even Kurt Cobain said it when he said, although I say I or me in a song, I'm not particularly talking about myself. It's the experience of life that you've had, and maybe sometimes it's not about me in particular in the life that I live, but I know the story because I was around it, or I had sat down in a conversation with someone, and that provoked an idea, and I turned around and ran off into a corner and grabbed my phone and I was typing notes. You never really know when the song is going to hit you or how it's going to. If you're forcing it, you'll find it.
Yeah.
But if you're letting it come to you, you really never know where it's going to come from, and you just got to allow it to happen. And that's something that I learned. And every time it comes now, when the song finds itself in my own head, or someone else says something that drives an inspiration home, I'm like, all right, I'll be right back. I gotta go. I'm gonna go try to write this out and try to plan it out, see how it's gonna come out. That's typically how I write music.
Funny. When it comes to you, is there like a specific setting, or can it just come out of nowhere?
It can literally just fly out of nowhere. I woke up and wrote a song called Crazy one night, and that's off our second EP that we released. I woke up dead.
Origin?
Yeah, it's on Origins as well. Origins was a collage of our first 3 EPs.
Okay.
So that's how that one got released. But yeah, so Crazy is on both of those, and I woke up in the middle of the night and wrote that one, and laid it down on paper, and it came out. Simple song, 3 chords in the truth, and that's how that one found inspiration. Another one nearly killed me with Sound the Alarm. You know what I mean? So you never really know how the inspiration will fall through.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like it comes from both like an internal and an external source.
So true, so true. It can be someone else's story that's in that they're involved with, and I consider myself, and I pride myself on being a songwriter. That's what I always wanted to be. When I was starting to play music, when I started developing music myself, I didn't want to be a rock star.
Yeah.
I didn't want to drugs and sex and all that stuff. Like obviously intriguing. What 14-year-old boy doesn't want to experiment with life as hard as you can go? But something that intrigued me a little bit more was being able to tell the story. I want to be the one that can write it down and put it onto a melody. I didn't even know that I could sing. And then when I started to, I kind of felt like I had to at that point. I had to be the one to write it down. I had to be the one to sing it the way that it needs to be said, and invoke that emotion that causes the listener, or even myself, saves a little money on therapy, maybe, because it gets you by to the next one.
Absolutely. And I have 2 more questions for you. From watching you play, I mean, that was some of the most. There was not like a static moment from any 4 of you guys on stage. You were just constantly moving, which I thought was great. Like when you are moving around and really bringing this element to the live presence, do you invoke just as much energy when you guys are like practicing or even recording music? Or is the live presence a completely separate mind frame?
The practice, when we're practicing, it's we're really trying to nail the parts. We there's a lot of movement on stage in the live performance, but if you can't play it, it's not worth hearing. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to bring good quality. But then we do dress rehearsals, and those things get gnarly. And we'll go 8 hours at a time, just playing over and over and over, and nonstop movement, trying to find our feet and find the way that the shoulders should move, and the way that like if I should get a haircut, because tonight I inhaled probably like a foot of hair while I was singing and nearly died right there. But yeah, we push it to the limit. We push ourselves to the limit, and we push the crowd to the limit. And I really feel that's what rock and roll is about. Like finding the boundary, and pushing it just a touch further.
Without great tone, there's only sex and drugs.
There you go. There you go. Without great songs, it's only sex and drugs.
Yep, that was a poster hanging on my summer job growing up.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start using that too. That's good.
Yeah. And you mentioned like songwriting too, and that's very important in rock and roll, because songwriting is a completely separate talent from just being, you could pick up a guitar and play any solo and be great at it, but writing songs is like a completely separate talent and a completely separate like game in general.
That's so very true. So very true. And it's something that intrigued me from the get-go. I never really was into the crazy guys or the crazy girls or the public figures that were always running amok, whether it be living lavishly or them literally just killing themselves slowly in the limelight. It never really intrigued me, but I watched a couple of people play acoustic songs that they wrote that never made it to radio, and they're big artists. And I was like, that's what I want. I want that. I want to do that. I want to be able to sit down and play, and I want to write what I'm going through. And I was also like a pretty angsty kid, so when I was going through, I went through a lot like growing up. So that writing was something that got me through anyway. When I realized that I could personally put music to the things that I was writing down, and I wasn't writing poetry. I wasn't a smart enough kid to make the words rhyme. I was just writing down what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it, and because I feel this way. And the more I did that, the more I understood that you could put this stuff with the music. And now instead of writing it down and closing the book, you can sing it out loud. And the other guy who's thinking the same thing, he wasn't given that. Like that dude's the best damn garbage man you ever seen in your life. You know what I mean? And someone's got to do that. So this is my duty, that I'm supposed to be writing these things down, because he can't do that, but he needs it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I need him in the same way. It's a community effort.
Absolutely. And if you're going to do a job, do it right.
You got to do it right. You got to you got to do it justice. That's for sure.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is a band coming from Alabama. You mentioned like on stage that they just legalized the sale of alcohol, which is abysmal to me. That like they're just getting out of prohibition right now.
Yeah, it's a strange concept. It really is. We grew up in a dry county, in a dry city, and the county that I grew up in is still dry. The city is allowed to sell alcohol, but I mean, they've only changed the time frame it takes for us to drive to get it. That's all. Like it went from an hour and 10 minutes to now it's like 35 minutes to go and get it. Because we live, where we grew up, we lived out in the boonies. We graduated with like 20 kids or something like that. And yeah, it was, like a lot of people were like, we graduated 800 people. It was nuts. No, hell no. You graduate with 20 people. Things get crazy because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Well, I could tell you grew up in a town where there's nothing to do, because clearly you guys practice a lot with how tight your performance was. So.
There's a lot of rehearsal going on, that's for sure.
But you're sorry for looking at my phone during the set, but I briefly pulled up metal bands from Alabama, and there actually is quite a bit of list. Not really, like I know that there is a rock band similar in style called Within Reason. That's from there.
We know those guys.
Oh, really? Yeah? Yep. Great band. I missed them on Uproar, and I was really pissed. But you like a band taking off from there right now is Era, big in like the deathcore scene. Malin and the Sons of Disaster.
I know those guys.
Yep. One of my first concerts.
There you go. Really?
Yeah, but
nice.
Skylar from He Is Legend was filling in on vocals for them.
Okay. Yep.
And then I Wrestled a Bear once is from there. So like, I get
really? They're from Alabama?
Yeah.
What?
a few of the members. I think like that's where they originated.
Oh, okay.
But like, so is there at all a scene or like places to play, or it was just get the hell out of here in order to get Shallow Side's name out there?
You know, I think here's something that'll put a stain on the scene. There is no scene. There's no scene. There's no such thing as a scene. Like you create your own following. Maybe there was a scene in the 70s. Maybe there was a scene in the 80s or the 90s. I have no clue. I wasn't there. But the scene that it's created now. If you can write music and develop a following, they're going to be your friends. And those friends are going to turn into what feels like family. And you're speaking directly to them. And then that thing grows to their friends. You literally create the scene. And it can live and it can die within the artist. Right there. In the moment that the band doesn't want to play no more, and that's where they're from, all those people are just going to drift off and they're going to find new music to be a part of. I never, at least for me, I never seen a scene growing up. I always seen bands that could do well because they worked their ass off and deserve the following that they have attracted. But with hard work and dedication comes the glory. You know, so that's I never really noticed a scene per se, and I've traveled the country over a few times. Yeah. So I haven't really noticed the scene, but I do notice the bands who work harder, the musicians, the artists that work the hardest, they have the largest following. Yeah. And because, you know, hard work and dedication never goes unnoticed, and that's I think that's where we live at nowadays.
Absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Killer performance tonight. Looking forward to seeing you guys play again soon. Is there just anything else you'd like to promote with the band? This will be uploaded by midnight tonight, so if you have like anything planned for like
new album is out July 26th.
Okay.
Available everywhere. July 26th. Our latest album, Saints and Sinners, is available now on physical copies. But if you come to a show, or if you do badass interviews like yourself, there you go. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there just anything in terms of tours you'd like to promote as well, or could we be expecting to see you on the road?
Shallowside.net holds all of our tour dates. We tour year round. We'll be on the road in a city near you from here till Christmas, and that's what we got going on for the rest of the year. July 26th drops the new album. We have a brand new music video that'll be coming out very, very soon. You can find all of our social media pages and our website all directly at the same place, shallowside.net.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
Dude, absolutely. Thank you.
Everybody, Eric of Shallow Side, July 26th, Saints and Sinners. Pick that up, and we'll see you next time on Heavy New York.